she lived out in Frankfort, Illinois, and she made sauerkraut. She just had the quart jars. Of course, they're always sterilized, and then all she did was wash the cabbage, chop it, and put it in jars and pack it with salt. And then you let it sit there. And I was there, it was starting to overflow. It ferments. And then when you get all fermented, you just have to put a lid on it. That's it.
So you leave it without the lid on until it ferments?
Yeah, you gotta wait till it overflows.
Okay.
Because otherwise it's gonna break the jar.
Yeah.
This is a story about Bertha. I haven't seen this for a while. I forgot about it, actually. That's what reminded me of the sauerkraut. In Hungary, they made a lot of soups with a semi-sour taste, which they used sour cream, vinegar, yogurt, horseradish, or sauerkraut. Yeah, and that's about the man. Actually, you're not Hungarian, you're Magyar. That's the old name for Hungary. But you probably will never see that. And it's the thing that I was doing here. I have another book around somewhere that shows things that were happening. It's like a collection of newspapers, and it goes way back when. So I used that to come into this paper, and this one right here. This little note comes from that. December 21st, 1864.
Wow.
Sherman's army reaches Savannah, Georgia in ruins. Sherman today presented the city of Savannah to President Abraham Lincoln as a Christmas present. Now that was in a newspaper, and that's when she was born. It's hard to put a timeline. Yeah. I think I would put this in a sleeves too and put it in a big book. I'm never going to be able to remember. And she did make those. Did I tell you about making pickles at my house?
At your house, no.
No. Well, Grandma would come for a couple weeks at a time, and I don't remember why I had pickles, or maybe I bought them. I don't know, but I did have a garden then too. But we had enough pickles. She wanted to make a jar of pickles. I said, okay, we'll make sun pickles. I don't mean nothing to me, but we'll do that. So she washed them, but her job when she was young in Hungary, they sorted them out to sizes and try to keep them, because then they pickle more evenly. So her job was to sort pickles when she was little. She washed them, used a sterilized jar, packed the pickles in there with salt, garlic,
Dill?
no dill. No dill. I have the recipe here. Summer pickles, they call them. Garlic, salt. Oh, she did put dill in them. Dill and a slice of rye bread. Put all that in a jar. Put the rye bread on top. Hold it under, if you got a little rock or something, you wash the rock and put it on top. Hold it under the liquid. And then I probably covered it with saran wrap or something. And we put out in porch in the sun. Well, she had to go home, but it wasn't ready yet. So I waited another week. Yeah, it was moldy as all get out. I'm thinking, that ain't good to eat. I dumped them. Grandma calls and says, well, how's the pickles doing? I said, oh, they were so moldy, Grandma, I threw them out. Ah, they were just getting good.
Ah.
What I should have done was you take the juice and you strain it.
Uh-huh.
And then you put them in a new clean jar and you got pickles. And it doesn't, it tastes like vinegar, but there is no vinegar in it.
Wow.
You just put it in the sun when it gets, but you gotta have that rye bread.
Yeah.
That helps the fermenting, I guess.
Mhm. So then, with the mold, since you just rinse it out, do you like wash the pickles and everything to make sure there's no mold spurs on it?
Yeah. You know, molds are really part of your life.
I'm allergic to mold.
And this here, I was just reading that. And they would take the pickle and cut it longwise, because later they would have stuffed pickles.
Ooh, that sounds good.
What'd you stuff one with? I gotta look at my Hungarian cookbook. I haven't seen it for a while. It's probably in there. And then when you place the dill, well, this is when you get it all cleaned up. Scrub, wash your cucumbers, scrub them with a brush,
Mhm.
dry with the, make a quarter turn on the side, and you cut it so you can stuff it. Place half of the dill in the bottom of a gallon jar. Add garlic clove. Stand the cucumbers on end in the bottom of the jar. Fit them tightly as you can. After you've done one layer, add the rest of the dill, garlic, and continue with tight packing of the cucumbers. Boil 4 quarts of water with the salt. Stand the pickle jar in hot water. I don't remember this. Stand the pickle jar in hot water to prevent cracking. Pour the hot water and salt over the pickles. Note, do not use iodized salt. Gotta use just canning salt.
Okay.
Cover with a slice of rye bread. Cover the top with a lid, or tightly wrap a moistened cloth around the jar top. Put the jar in the sun or a warm place for 4 or 5 days. Moisten the cloth every morning. Why? You try this again. Your mother will have a fit. By the time the pickles should be generally referred to as semi-sour. Then you remove them from the jar. Strain the pickle juice. Put the pickles in the jar again. Pour the strained juice over them. After this, store the pickles under refrigeration. So it's not something you can just leave on the counter. It's something you do every day, I guess, over there, you know?
Yeah.
Or each time you get a little bunch of.
Cucumbers in the garden.
Now I put in here several. Now, well, Grandma, she was born in 1888.
Mhm.
The Oldsmobiles were being, and Queen Victoria died on 01, and McKinley died from his wounds in 01. Teddy Roosevelt becomes the youngest president, and wireless signal across the Atlantic started. How about that?
Wow.
See, that's a long time ago. They were in a different world. I come from a different world.
Yeah.
It's totally different. I need to correct that spelling of my. Check that. Okay. And she wasn't 17 yet. on and gets into all her children. And the scale that I mentioned here, I gave back to Clarence's wife because his mother was the midwife. Then the troops left Mexico and to capture Ponchoville at this time in 1917. Bad. And they, oh, it jumps over here. Okay, forget that. Then my grandpa died on December 7th, 1939, which was also my grandma's birthday.
Whoa.
I remember she had this big oblong, big enough for a turkey. That's where she made her bread. Take 2 big long loaves in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then she also made smaller loaves. They never cook one thing. They would cook for the week. And one of the small loaves, you know how it raises up and it gets a round top? That had popped open. Grandma says, somebody's gonna die. And he did.
Wow.
It did look like an open coffin. I can remember that when she said that to me. It was bad. Anyways. Oh yeah. He was an ice man in the summer and a cold man in the winter.
Really?
Yeah. Before that, he owned a couple other things. He owned a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Big buildings. There's a building on 111th. I can't remember the street name, but 111th there. It's about a 4-story big block building.
What state?
111th.
What state?
Oh, Illinois. Chicago. Roseland.
Mm-hmm.
He owned that, and he owned several other buildings. But then the Depression came, nobody could pay him.
Mm.
And he lost everything.
That's hard.
Except the house they lived in. But he must have owed money on that because I don't know whether she sold it or she just lost it. I don't know. But she tried to go collect, because a lot of people owed him money. And she had his little book, how much they owed. And she went to those people. No, they wouldn't pay her. They owed the money to him, not to her.
That's messed up.
Yeah. So they sold that house and she went to rent an apartment. And you know, at that time, funerals were in the house. But they had a living room that was the good room.
Mm-hmm.
It had sliding wood doors closed there. And then the dining room and like a little, Artie used to take a nap on a cot in it, like a little den.
Okay.
And then the kitchen. And then, so the undertaker come and took them away, and they bring them back and they set them up in the big room there.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a stairway going upstairs to the upstairs bedroom. And of course, at the time I was 4 or 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And Grandma was crying and crying and crying. And I can remember this. She's on the kneeler in front of the casket. I said, you know, Grandpa wouldn't want you to die. I want you to cry like this. She said, I know. And I eventually fell asleep somewhere. Somebody picked me up, put me upstairs in the bedroom with all the lights off.
Mm-hmm.
And all I can remember is waking up and it was pitch black.
Mm-hmm.
I sat up there and screamed for a long time before anybody heard me. Then they came up and got me. That scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hmm?
No kidding. You're a little kid.
Yeah.
Could be in a coffin for all you know.
Yeah. You just didn't know. And it was in the bed he died in. I was in their bedroom. Yeah. So, well, yeah, it's over with, thank God. I seen a rag man in driving a truck the other day. I know you don't, that we were into recycling long before I was born. There was a man, he'd come through the alleys, and he drove a horse with the wagon behind. And he had a bell, and he'd ring his bell and say, rags in no line, rags in no line. And if you never threw nothing away.
Mm-hmm.
Newspapers are worth maybe a penny a pound.
Mm-hmm.
And rags, any kind of rags. This was all used to make paper and stuff. And Grandma said, "You're not a good girl. I'm going to give you to the rags man." But I couldn't believe I saw a truck saying the rag man. I thought, "Oh my God, he's back!" Oh yeah. They never threw nothing away. You couldn't afford to give anything away.
Yeah.
So, yep, the ragsman, I mentioned him in here. And when I asked my grandma, why did Grandpa die? She said, oh, he probably ate his bushel of dirt. I said, why? What do you say? He said, everybody eats dirt. When you get your full, you die. So you keep your food clean. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was funny. I didn't think it was funny then. And there is a recipe for strudel dough. Grandma could do it. I could never do it. She had a little ball of dirt, about as big as the softball.
Mm-hmm.
She would put a sheet over the dining room table,
Mm-hmm.
and she'd start work with her fingers until it spread over that whole table.
Wow.
You could see her. She would go like this, stretch it out, until it's so thin you could see through it.
Wow.
And then she would put apples, nuts, raisins, sugar, butter, I don't know what all in there. Oh, I got a recipe, but and they use lard also. I think lard is, some ways it's better than the butter.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get so much cholesterol, not as much as in the butter sometimes, the real butter. But she makes that on her birthday or on a holiday, because everybody, it would be gone. And she had those big, like a regular baking sheet, cookie sheet,
Mm-hmm.
and then it would run, she made 2 or 3 of them laying in there. This is I don't know what it says, 3/4 cup instantized flour plus regular flour. So I don't know what, maybe it's that flour that comes in that little, they didn't have that back then, but.
Maybe like bread flour?
Hmm? Maybe
bread flour?
Maybe. What's instantized? I'll have to look that up. Yeah. Basically, this is the same as the other one. Oh yeah. My mother, and I vaguely remember my grandma telling me about this. Vershitz, there was a hill she could climb up the hill, where there was small shrines depicting the stations of the cross, and all of her sisters would be with her, and they'd walk up there and pray at each shrine. And but in the mornings in Vershitz, it was a medieval town.
Yeah.
There's a wall all the way around it to keep the wolves out and the bad people. And the first ones, they herded the geese. They had a goose girl. That was her job, take care of all the town's geese. Went out with them in a little herd. And then goats. But when the cattle came, the horn would blow and everyone went to some shelter because the bulls were so dangerous. And this is the other thing too. Bertha, my grandma, she was a sickly child, and she said, and I saw it, she had some kind of a hump on her chest right here. My mother, Helen, says it was like a dowager's hump, but on her chest. And she did talk to a doctor in Chicago, and he knew what she was talking about. I don't know, but by the time she got old, that went away.
That's interesting.
But she had to stay in bed, and her sisters were supposed to take care of her. But there was, she'd sneak out of the house, go look for her grandma, her mother. And then he died. I thought, oh well, I gave that back to I had a French donut maker that was handmade by Carl Schonder, who was the husband of the wife of the midwife. So when I gave him the scale, I gave him this French donut maker. And all it was like a metal tube with maybe a 8-point, like a cookie cutter, but it had just small lines going like that. And you would squeeze this, and then it would come out and fry. You ever have French donuts? Well, that's what they were. You fried donuts. They're very light, very good. So I gave that back to them. Everybody should have something. And here's that recipe for the pickles again. This is mostly it. Oh, what was that about? Oh, that was the rye bread. Most of this is just, I didn't write the recipes down for the filling for the strudel. I should have done that, in case somebody ever should want to try. Yeah. Yep, it's too bad that's all gone. There's a butcher here in Safety Harbor. His shop faces the railroad tracks that go through. There's a couple places that make trailers, and it's just a cement, I don't know if it's still there, but it's just a cement block building. Now when we started going there, it was the original man came from Hungary, and he made his own sausage, and he used to have, and I always, sorry I didn't try them, little squares of bacon soaked in paprika, and it was coated with it. Now, supposedly, in another book I read, they put that on a spit and roast it over a fire. That's supposed to be really good. Don't know. But he also carries a lot of, they use a lot of cherries. They have a lot of cherry preserves and wine in there.
Yummy.
And he makes his own lunch meat. You can make your own lunch meat.
Yeah?
If you got a food processor, be a snap. You know, you just put all your meat and your spices in there, grind it up, put it in. I have a loaf pan that has a sliding lid. I had it. I don't know. I haven't seen it for a while. But you put that over. You can cook it in there. And you take it out and you can slice it. And head cheese. I will never be able to eat that again, but I love it. I love it. It used to, long time ago, in the 1800s, and I guess they did it in the early 1900s. They used the head of a pig, and they would take all the cuttings, parts that they're not going to use in other things, chop them up, pickle them, pour them in the head of the pig, and usually when you cook a pork like that, there's like a gel. I got a jar of pickled pig feet in there. Oh, it's good. It is good. I love it. That and the head cheese is, they slice that like lunch meat. And I love that too. But
so it's basically like a jello, meat jello, not really a cheese?
Like that. It gets a gel. You probably cook pork and found that gel in there.
Yeah.
Well, you put some pickling spices and some pork in there.
Do you flavor the jello or anything like that?
I don't know. I have to look up that is, yes, that would. So we would go there. I take Grandma up there, and we would go on Thursdays because that old man, he only did work open to the public Thursdays and Fridays.
Wow.
Otherwise, he made for restaurants. And his stuff was so good. I go take Grandma there. She stock up on all the sauce. You know, they have knotwurst, and there's a lot of wurst.
Yeah.
White. I don't know. I never tried that one.
Yeah.
Blood sausage. That I never tried that.
My friends in North Carolina, I guess blood sausage is really popular over there, so they'll make it all the time and try to get me to eat it. I don't know if I can eat blood sausage. I hear it has a really metallic taste.
It doesn't appeal to me one bit.
Oh.
I used to, down in the basement in Chicago, you had your utility tubs, which is about the same size you see out there, but they were made out of marble or something. And there's lots of pipes going over all the water pipes, and you would catch chicken or goose was better. Turkey was excellent. She'd tie her feet up there, and then I would hold the animal, and she would cut their throat, and we would bleed it.
Yeah.
And then she would use that to make blood sausage.
I bet the meat tasted good though.
Oh yeah. That's how we always had a goose and a turkey for Christmas.
Wow.
And goose is so expensive now. It is. I mean, it's maybe 3 or 4 times the cost of a turkey. At least that.
Jeez. Do you know how to make good goose?
What?
I've never cooked goose before. Do you know how to make it?
No, but I could. That's got to be simple.
Yeah.
And you could put a lot. I think a goose has a lot of fat in it. Don't you throw the fat away. That's good goose grease. You always have a jar of goose grease in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
If you get a cold, you rub it on your chest.
Really?
Yep. Or she fry a lot of stuff in goose grease.
Yeah.
It gives it a whole new flavor. That's why we like to sneak in some lard around here. Maybe I'll put lard on my shopping list. Real lard. I don't want no fake. No, a Crisco's okay, but lard is better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might see if I can do that. Nobody has to eat it. Nobody. I just want it. But I gotta look at the salt and all that. Salt, I've been taking double pills. That Dr. Morales, and now that it's all over with, I wonder sometimes, is he as good as I think?
Morales?
He seems to be really excellent. He said, you had two choices. I could go get, I have two leaky valves in my heart. One in the middle, that's got like a heart murmur in there, and it doesn't let the blood through normal.
Mm-hmm.
Then the blue side of your heart,
Mm-hmm.
that one has a too tight valve and it don't let the blood out of it.
Oh, wow.
He said, I can fix all these things. But every time you have operation, you're taking a risk of ending up on dialysis and a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't want to do that.
No, you sound like you're alive and okay, so.
Well, yeah, why? And you know that Dr. Delgado had called Sue. He's the gastrologist. He told Sue, Dr. Morales' office called and said to go ahead with the upper GI. We have an appointment on September 9th or something, or 19th, somewhere. He told that to Sue. Now I trust Sue. I know she told me the truth.
Right.
I've never met this Delgado. Sue has. She thinks the world of it. But that's the second time a lie has come in from him. A lie, an absolute lie, that the doctor, because we talked to Morales, and he said, well, you're better off not doing these things because of all the risks. And Sue said, well, what about the upper GI? He said, oh no, no, you shouldn't have that, it's too big a risk. He said, Dr. Delgado called me and said you approved it. He said, no, there is no contact between the two offices. He's got the computer there. According to his secretaries, they got everything in there, and no upper GIs. He said, you've got to take thing to put you to sleep, and then the procedure itself, then coming back out of it. He said, no, it's too big of a risk. You don't need that. You had all these other ones. We have all this other information. He did run a bunch of tests. He said, all indications say the bleeding has stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Which I believe, because my blood pressure, knock on wood, has not ever gone below 40 again.
And your iron's doing better.
I don't know about that. They did an iron test. I had to get a shot. My blood for the procreate dropped 2 points, which is a big drop.
You went to 8?
Yeah. See, all this time, I haven't had a procreate shot in maybe 8 weeks.
Yeah, it was a while.
And now